we're in a marathon, we're not in a sprint.
Yes.
And I think the way to win a marathon, I'm an overweight guy, so I'm the worst person to be saying, right?
How we'd imagine that you could win a marathon would be...
How we imagine you win a marathon is by taking each mile methodically.
Welcome back to another great episode of Click to Buy. Today, I'm joined by AJ Saunders, the founder of Audacious Commerce. In the last decade, he's been pretty busy. He's launched an ebook publishing company, a global e-commerce shop, built countless websites, and advised lots of different companies on their digital marketing strategy. So you could say that he's been both an e-commerce marketeer, but also a serial entrepreneur, which makes him the perfect guest today to tell us what it takes to run a successful e-commerce business. And that's why today we're going to talk about all things e-commerce marketing strategy. So AJ, thank you so much for being my guest today here on Click to Buy. Welcome to the podcast.
It's so amazing to be here. It's finally great to talk to you because we've talked extensively in the last kind of like, is it not 6-9 months? You know,
Yeah.
it feels like forever.
Absolutely. It was high time.
I know. We've been even backwards and forwards for forever, so it's just great to actually finally talk to you, realize that you are a living human.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like, for both of us having digital marketing experience, I think we're so familiar with getting to know these personas and how you can like really feel like you know someone until you finally can get the chance. But
Indeed.
I'm glad the world will get to see our first interacted, we'll get to know you chat.
Amazing.
But maybe to kick things off, just to give people a little bit of background. So of course, preparing for this episode, I did a little snooping on your LinkedIn.
Oh, here we go.
And I saw you had a recent post in which you said that in the e-commerce marketing world, you're something of a unicorn because of your experiences. So I would love to know, why would you call yourself an e-commerce marketing unicorn?
Right. So as a marketer, you try to do this thing called differentiation, right? So you try to find things that make you, Seth Godin had this thing 15 years ago called the purple cow, right? If you drove past a field and there was a purple cow, you would stop and you go, man, there's a purple cow in that field, right?
Yeah.
It's different. And so I often use these quote-unquote provocative terms as a way of generating interest. So it's clickbaity-ish, I guess.
Love that.
But yes, look, I believe there's a lot of marketers and a lot of people that work in agencies, whether that's growth agencies, web dev agencies, marketing agencies, that has been their career. And so their only insights is what they've actually experienced with their client base. They have no external point of reference in terms of actually trying it for themselves. Whereas, for me, like you said, I don't like the word entrepreneur because I don't feel that I'm done a substantial value yet. So I don't like using that title. I've started multiple small businesses in a much more comfortable way. You tell me English, can't you? I'm much more comfortable.
He's too humble. If he was American, he would be like, I've been found in this, found in that. But I understand, like, you've put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
Tried this.
Exactly. I think oftentimes, if you look at the agency landscape in terms of marketing, a lot of them are very comfortable with selling what they're comfortable with selling. And so you go to an SEO agency and they don't stop to think, can we help you actually with SEO? They imagine that you have a very square hole and their solution SEO will fit into that hole. They don't stop to qualify if you have a round hole or an oblong shaped hole or a key shaped hole or that kind of thing, that they won't. And that to me leads to quote unquote like mis-selling or unmet expectations. And I feel that's where what I do and what we do is completely different because I'm experienced in what I'm doing. I run various businesses and I run various different things. I work with very different clientele across the world, and so I have a very, very unique level of experience, a very, very unique level of insight based on just the kind of work that I've done and the ability to sympathise and to empathise with people that are spending their own hard-earned cash,
okay,
or their investors' hard-earned cash. in some cases.
Yeah, true. Because it's always easier sometimes to spend money that's like not yours, but
Right,
you know
exactly.
the value of that dollar or the euro or wherever you are.
Where it is, yeah.
Well, based on this experience that you've had as both an entrepreneur and then working with other agencies, if you just had 60 seconds to maybe chat with a new e-commerce brand that's growing, that's struggling, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give them?
So, right, if they're just starting, I think you have to be very tactical in what you're doing. So I think
Mm-hmm.
you live or die by that week's revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the broadest sense of that phraseology. And so I think, it's best to pick 2 or 3 marketing channels, whether that's PPC, whether that's SEO, whether that's email, and just spend all your efforts on that. And therefore, you can innovate, you can try different things around the edges, but I think it's really, really important to pick 2 or 3 channels and just go wholeheartedly into them. And a lot of it is just about trying to roll the punches. I know that sounds very, very cliche, but to just try and get traction. Because I think once you have traction and you have a profitable business, then you have the headspace to be more strategic and to be more methodical. But I think if you're just starting out, it is long hours, it is hard graft, it is just trying to figure out what's going to work right here, right now, that's going to enable you to get to that point where you are profitable and you have some ability to think about how you're going to get to that next level, scale, or however it looks for you. But it is about being tactical. It is about trying lots of things and seeing what sticks. It is about figuring out where there is demand or where you can generate demand very, very quickly that may not be great long term, but may give you the impetus to know what to do.
There's got to be a business before you can keep up with some of the other tactics. I guess you hear a lot.
well, the other thing that I hear a lot, and it utterly frustrates me, is you tell them I found the quote you want to say this, is lots of people want to do these days away where they think about this great brand name, they think about this great domain name, they think about the colors. They don't go out and say, right, if I have a product, is somebody going to buy that product? Right?
Yeah.
I give you a really live example. I'm sat here in my office, and on the desk next to mine is a smart home product, right, that I've bought and I'm now retailing as a wholesaler right here in the UK.
Okay.
And so my GCM strategy is literally, can I phone or can I email distributors and wholesalers and dealers and say, I have this great product, this is what it's going to cost you, this is what we're retailing at. Is that worth conversation? Because it makes, I can go to invest 2, 5, 10 grand buying more stock, building a fancy website, but if no one's interested at this point, it doesn't really matter.
Gotcha. So it's also like figuring out what those early indicators are, and also like if there is enough interest to continue pursuing that, or if it's time to pivot.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really nice, I think, nugget for maybe other people out there who are thinking of what to maybe start with. I'm curious, when you work with clients as an e-commerce agency, what kind of stage are they at? Are they in this growth stage? Or are they like in this looking to scale stage? Like where are they at? And then how do you build upon that?
Yes. So typically we work with people who have product market fit. And so what I mean by that is they have some traction, they have some natural cash flow, they have some customers that are interested, that are repeating, or they're not trying to find what's going to sell and who they're going to sell it to. They have some concept of that kind of those mechanics. They're often confused because they've either worked with another agency who again said, well, we're an SEO agency, so the SEO must solve your problem.
Yeah.
Right. And therefore, they're trying to figure out how to get to their roadmap to their goal, and how that actually kind of figures out in reality, and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. What I come in and do is I come in and I say, right, well, what would you like to be doing in terms of marketing? Where would you like to be spending your time, efforts, and money? Where do you think your customers are? What do you think we should be measuring? How does that work out? But also, how does that work out into the way you're trying to get to? And so it's essentially business consulting. I'll put my teeth in. Right. It is the first step of what we do always. But it really is about saying, right, what is your goal? What are you doing? Where do we think your market is? What do we think your market is after? and then how can we actually optimize what you're currently doing to make sure that we are pushing forward towards those numbers.
Mm.
And then how are we going to measure? So are we going to use KPIs, we're going to benchmarks, we're going to use OBRs, all of these sorts of types of things. I know, you work in a small corporate, so you probably are aware of all of these lovely things.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't optimizing for data, right? The data they have at hand, all the data that they need to be measuring. And so that's kind of what I do. And then the next step is then the technical application of that. So whether that's SEO, whether that's PPC, whether that's events, whatever.
Yeah.
We either can do it in house, or we can find a partner that will allow us to do that. Yeah. And then the third step in our process is literally, what problems do you have, and can we find a partner, or can we find somebody in the market that offers a solution to that problem that we can bring them on? Because we're not experts in everything, and also we don't know everything. And so whether that's instant, you guys have a great solution. I know for Shopify, for making pages look really, really great really quickly. Whether that's a 3PL in Wisconsin. I'm just going to use that because we talked about that before. Or whether it's getting physical products on stores, in Europe, in the US, in Australia. It doesn't really matter. We've got partners that do all of that. And that's how we do what we do.
I love that you mentioned part of your process as like this agency is also looking outward to help extend that network, because of course for like an ecom brand, I imagine like you're going to have lots of different agencies who offer a variety of different things. Yep. So it's nice to see that you're also part of your services are also like, who can we partner with to really make this a success for everyone involved?
Yeah. Well, look, we're not trying to cure cancer, right? So all the problems that people come to us with, I mean, glibly, of course. Every person comes to me and says, I have a problem with this. We usually can find a way to solve it.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Usually that is not an internal solution, usually that's an external solution, but usually we can find a route to make that problem minimize or go away. And, I'm old enough and ugly enough now to realize there are certain problems that I enjoy solving, and there are certain problems that I know other people have the natural proclivities to solve, and that and thus why not work with them to build their business, right? While we're helping our clients, because then we get a win-win-win, and that to me is super important.
Very interesting. I kind of going back to what you said at the start of that sentence there, like there are different kind of problems that you like to solve. There's some that you would rather pass along, but of course I know you probably work with lots of different companies, so you're solving lots of different problems. Maybe like if you could dive into one of the most common things that you help with, like, and what would be a strategy to kind of like meet that goal for like an ecom brand?
Yeah. So the core problem that I solve is getting people to be disciplined towards their goal, right? Mm-hmm. And the way that I do that is I get people to focus on what channels they need to be executing on, so whether that's SEO, PPC, email, social, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I then make sure that they have a rugged P&L, because if we don't have a P&L, so I've got a client at the moment, and we're working towards building a stock plan, right? Mm-hmm. And in the last 6 months, he's come to me every week that we've talked, because I'm a high touch agency, right? Yeah. And he said, "Well, the factory have emailed me a bill for another €300," and I've gone, "So could you have not anticipated that?" No. Like, okay, so right, how are we going to anticipate that in the future, right? Mm-hmm. Because again, all of these sorts of things, can be anticipated, right? And so the 2 or the 3% that can't be anticipated, right? Actually, that's fine, right? But the 95, 97, 98% of things that should be and can be, methodically worked into the model should be in the model. Mm-hmm. And therefore, for me, it's then about trying to figure out, like what metrics are we optimizing for that will enable us to comfortably hit our goals. So whether that's, whether somebody wants to turn over $500,000, $1 million in the next 3 years, what does that look like in terms of actual hard figures? And then it's just literally about creating a plan that works and then sticking to the plan.
Gotcha.
right?
I think sticking to the plan, I think, is probably something a lot of maybe business owners need to hear, because I think sometimes it's like a little bit of a waiting game and you want to like pivot too soon. But in other episodes, when I've talked with people who are into experimentation or testing, they're always saying like you got to make a plan based on your hypothesis and then like live it out up to a point where you can start to see if it's working. So cause if you shift too soon, you might miss the value of what happens from just staying consistent.
Yeah. Well, the analogy I like to use is we're in a marathon, we're not in a sprint.
Yes.
And I think the way to win a marathon, I'm an overweight guy, so I'm the worst person to be saying this, right?
How we'd imagine that you could win a marathon would be.
How we imagine you win a marathon is by taking each mile methodically.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have there's people that shoot off right at the start and don't think, right, by the 20th mile, by the 30th mile, how the heck am I going to feel? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Versus the people that are thinking, okay, right, well, I just need to outrun that person in front of me, and I can do that by taking a slower pace, because they will get exhausted at some point, or they'll need to stop, or they'll want to go for a pee break or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's the old joke of how do you outrun a tiger? You don't. You outrun the slowest person.
Yes.
Right.
And there's a big audience of people out there who are waiting to be sold something. So if you don't have to beat the big box company. But as long as you're not in last place, there's some money to be earned.
Exactly. And so so for me, going with the running analogy, I think the whole thing is if you believe you're in a sprint and you believe that you just have to run faster, you don't win. You have to be more methodical in how you're going to end the race, right? The sport that I love the most is tennis, and one of the best tennis players in the last decade has been somebody called Simona Halep. Simona Halep is 5'6".
Wow.
Do you think she's the tallest person? No.
Probably not.
Do you think she's the strongest person? No. She was at number one for I think 400 odd weeks, right?
Wow.
Maybe 600 weeks. And she got to number one by being more methodical and being more strategic in how she knew who she was playing against and how she could win against them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so again, she's not on paper. You probably think, well, why is she number one? But then you watch her play games, and she sticks to the plan. She forgets the point that she just played, right? Because all the emotion that was caught up, whether she won, lost, or whatever happened at that last point, right? And she's just focusing on that the step that she's in now that will get her to the next step, which will get her closer to winning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why she's one of the best athletes of all time.
Yeah, so if you're an e-commerce business, what you're saying is you have to like make your strategy, plan out all the miles, and then pivot maybe when you need to, but keep at it. You don't have to be the biggest business, but you got to be the one that sticks it out. Yeah,
but with pivoting, this is this advice that nobody wants to hear. And I always say this, and everyone gets upset, but it's the truth. That's why I keep saying it. The right time to pivot is when your customers are demanding something that you do not offer, but you should offer. It's just ignorance on the part of the business owner's part, because they don't want to listen to what the customer is willing to give them money for.
I'm very curious. Do you have an example of like maybe something you've either worked with or maybe something you've seen that was either it happened or, in your opinion, maybe a missed opportunity?
Okay, so a few months ago, I talked to somebody in America. I can't remember where she is. And she said, behind me is sat, I think, $30,000 worth of materials. I was like, great. Well, what are you selling? She says, well, I love to make X. Right? And it's a craft product. And it sounds amazing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So how is that working out for you? Well, I have $30,000 worth of stuff behind me.
Yeah, maybe not so much.
Okay, maybe not so much. So I said to her, go away and figure out, like, what is a product that somebody will buy, somebody will pay something for, right? That is easy to make it scale. I.e., you can make something that's pretty attractive, that's that's retailable, that's profitable, and that isn't a hobby, right? And therefore, you have to switch between doing something that makes money and doing something that's fun. Right? You can make lots of money and have a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but it often is right. Can we do something that's fun that isn't profitable, or can we do something that's profitable that isn't very fun?
We need a little
right?
chart here.
A little chart.
Yeah, like the fun access, the profitable access, and find your spot.
Exactly. Yeah, you tell it decent though, can't you? Everything's in charts.
Yeah, exactly. Everything can be charts. This is our data-driven marketing mindset.
Indeed. And so my challenge to her was, go and find something that you can retail on like Etsy, right? That's that she doesn't need to be in a production quote unquote phase, right? She can outsource that. She can find somebody else that she can bring in to do that in time. But there is profitable, there is margin in it. So if things don't sell as well in certain seasons, she can discount. Things sell in better seasons, she can raise prices, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But the people that were paying money were asking her for different things and were willing to pay for them. She was just, can I say, stupid enough not to listen to them. I mean it with all the greatest respect and all the love in the world.
Sure.
Because I'm not a nasty person, right? I try not to. But it's this whole thing of people were saying, well, I'll give you $20 for this, and she was going, oh well, now I want to do this over here because this is an artistic pursuit. It's like, well, no, you're trying to make money.
Yeah.
That's just one story of so many that I can give you.
No, I love that. And it's so interesting because when I've spoken to other conversion experts, one of their biggest pieces of advice is always listen to your customers, get customer feedback. It's all about improving their experience. Yep. But it's so funny that your advice is even when you're starting a business already, the advice clearly applies all the way down the funnel when you're trying to make these business decisions, whether it's starting up that marketing engine or trying to get people to come back to you and buy again.
Yeah. I gotta say something very controversial now. So why is Taylor Swift so popular?
Yes.
It's not because she's artistically exuberant or right, but she's developed a formulaic songwriting path that resonates with the majority of people, right?
Okay.
And therefore, all she's doing to buy the bigger house or to buy bigger cars, buy a bigger jet, is she's just following a formula. But it's based on the fact that people have told her and people buy their album because they like her formula. Right?
Yeah.
It's completely different. If she was doing this avant-garde art, jazz that was, that didn't need to make any money because was a benefactor who was paying for her to, right? She's, Taylor all over the world isn't going to release like a jazz album next album cycle. No. Even though she might have a jazz album in her, right? It's just that she's latched onto what works, and therefore, using customer feedback, using her own, natural abilities to write catchy pop songs. That's what she's done. Same thing with Beyonce. Beyonce, there are clips of Beyonce on YouTube singing jazz in a jazz club.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. With the guy called Robert Glasper, right? Will Beyonce ever collaborate with Robert Glasper? He's one of who's in my opinion the premium jazz pianist of this day and age. Absolutely not, because she knows it won't sell. And it will piss off all of her audience.
True.
It'll do wonders for Robert Glasper. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah, I do think though that Beyonce is a good example of pivoting when there is demand for a new product. If you think about how she's now switched to country going on the metaphor. She soft launched a few songs, little TikToks with her music in it, and then bam, now it makes sense that she has her country album as well.
Right.
And she partnered up with all the people from the industry or like the big names in country to really make that transition.
To make it happen. Yeah.
So apparently there's a lot we can learn from those pop star marketing tactics. Not something I thought we would follow today, but I am for it.
There you go. I'm letting you jazz pianist called Robert Glasper, so go check him out. You'll really hate him. Anyway, I love
Shout out for him. I love it. So thank you for that Taylor Swift power marketing tip. It's actually funny because I saw on LinkedIn the other day, the president of Shopify also put something about like Taylor Swift's impact on Shopify brands. So this clearly is something that people are thinking about also like in the power of like having someone famous or like an influencer either wear your product or interact with your product. And so I was already thinking like, this is maybe a new kind of trend. Of course, influencer marketing isn't a trend, but just like having, more of these ways to kind of uniquely spotlight your product, which might increase your sales. Do you have any kind of trends that you've seen lately that you think could be interesting for a brand to test out in terms of maybe getting awareness for some of their products?
So I don't, because that's not the kind of thing that I do. I'm the
Okay,
worst person to
gotcha.
ask at trend marketing because I'm 5 years behind. Hence why I'm wearing a wrapper and polo shirt, right? Because I'm 5 years
Oh,
behind.
that's okay. He knows what works. Then maybe we should switch it and say,
Exactly.
what's a tried and true marketing
There you go.
tactic that works
Right.
rather than just hopping on another trend?
Well, no, I think trends are really, really useful if you can hop on them at the right point. I think a lot of brands, by the time they've acknowledged that there's a trend happening and they've got manufacturing involved, the trend's moved on, and they end up with a lot of inventory that can't be moved, that has to be moved at a significant discount, which is a whole ball game within itself. And I think that's where, sites like Temu and Shein and Zara here in Europe. I think Zara's in the US as well. Zara had a kind of really, really short supply chain to make these sorts of things a reality. Same thing with Shein is, and with Temu, they don't actually they don't have in-house product designers. They just have people that essentially rip off, if I can be so bold.
Yeah.
Without getting a lawsuit for you guys. They mimic what's already popular.
Yeah, they mimic in a very very copycat
very close way. And so yes, so I think trends are great to explore, but I also think I think nothing beats actually doing the hard work. So whether that's talking to clients, whether that's building out landing pages that actually resonate with them, whether that's going and doing events, whether that's sending emails, personal emails, doing that kind of thing. And so I think a lot of trend-free things are just, they're graph based. They're not actual kind of trend based. They're not sexy. Not great. They don't scale very well, but they're profitable because they're based around somebody creating a meaningful relationship with you as a consumer. And I think that sadly is what works, and that's sadly why it doesn't scale. And lots of these five hits get more email signups. It's just like, well, why does that matter? Why can't we communicate more effectively with the people that we already have on our list? Right?
Sure.
Or why can't we get people who are already on the list to opt out if they're no longer interested?
So focusing on the value of what you already have as well.
Yeah.
I like that.
I just want to tell you a really, really quick story because this is great about email opt-outs. I had a client about 2 years ago that I think they were sat on like 4,000 email addresses, and they never sent them an email. And so I said to them, okay, right, let's make some money quickly. Let's send an email and let's see if we can get some money in, right? And we did about $1,000, right, from one email campaign. So it's okay. It's not it's not to be sniffed at. But I spent a lot of time in that session going over the whole psychology of if somebody unsubscribes, I like that person. And the business owner, it like I killed her first person. And I was saying, look, we have a finite budget, we have a finite, resources. And actually, if people are no longer interested and they want to get out, I really like those people because they're actually making our job easier, because our delivery rate goes up, our click-through rate goes up, our cost per send goes down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, if we're not the right people to be supplying them with the item, great. Who cares? They've got other options, and so actually they signed up by mistake or whatever. Perfect, right? But some people are scared that when somebody clicks that unsubscribe button, that all hell's going to break loose. This guy's going to fall, their firstborn's going to die of gout, or some.
Yeah.
It's totally not that situation. It's totally the situation of, well, actually, you just made life easier.
Yeah,
and actually, what was really hilarious,
eliminating yourself, so I can focus on everyone else.
Exactly. And what was really, really hilarious about that first campaign is one of their best clients clicked the spam button. So it was a notification when they logged into MailChimp the next time. So they clicked the spam button. And I said to her, can you call her out in this shop and ask her why the hell she did that? She said, boy, I'm looking forward to doing that. So I was like, awesome, fantastic. So, so I think... But again, talking to customers, right?
Talk to your customers.
Why do you hit the spam button?
Yeah,
£1,000 with us over the last 5 years. Why? Right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So don't be afraid of the unsubscribe. Don't take it personally. Ask why?
Ask what? Yeah. But also build genuine relationships with long-term clients, and be able to have that what I call like a crunchy dialogue where it isn't. isn't personal, but it's not pretty. That makes sense. Where people can say, really uncomfortable things, and you can take it because you have a strength relationship.
I love that. Don't be afraid of
forward.
Crunchy dialogue with your customers. I like it.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I want to make sure I ask you a question that I ask every guest.
Right.
So this is Click to Buy. So we're always ending the episode with a click-worthy tip that's going to help e-commerce brands and store owners or marketeers out there learn how to drive people down that conversion funnel. So turning their clicks closer into a buy, if you will.
I say, use KPIs that will, that outline where you're trying to get to and what the numbers look like.
Yeah. And
so your KPI could be, how many hits you get a day, or how much revenue you get a day, or how many customers you speak to, or how many no's you get, right? So if you're starting up. Right. But I feel it's important to have metrics that describe what the best behavior looks like, and therefore will enable you to push forward to where you're trying to get to. And so, set meaningful goals that make a difference in your trajectory.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. I think picking KPIs are that's something that sometimes is overlooked. But I think, as we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, you find that the marketers who have a strategy and stick to it are the ones that are kind of outlasting in that e-commerce marathon.
Absolutely.
Well, AJ, just in case people listen to this podcast and they think, I want to speak with AJ too, I would also like to hear his advice or learn more about Audacious Commerce. Where can people find you online?
Right. So as I mentioned, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I write there pretty much every day, every other day. So there's loads of tips, tricks, info on that. Please come connect with me. Come and talk to me. I answer all the messages that aren't, hey, we get you 10 appointments tomorrow. Like we're all suffering with. So come hang out with me on LinkedIn. Come talk to me. I'd love to talk to you. If you're looking for more information, if you go to audaciouscommerce.com and go to I think it's the fourth clickable icon above, which is called Guides. That's the blog. The blog has about 35 to 40 blog posts and growing about how I conceptually help people, whether it's strategic advice, marketing plan, marketing budget, up to everything from how to set up an SEO campaign, which is what I also wrote for you guys about last year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've written that as a way of people becoming more educated. So when they come and talk to me, they have more intelligent questions or a better understanding of what we can help them with. And so that blog is just a resource. Again, it's written from somebody that's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's not by somebody who's just run an agency who hasn't had to deliver for their own clients. So yes, read that. I'm on Instagram, _J_Saunders. Post there incessantly.
Perfect. Well, I love meta after this as well.
Yeah. You'll quickly get bored of photos of Monaco, Bentleys, and what I currently doing each day. So and the odd dog photo as well. But that's where you can find me out. Please come and talk to me. I love talking to e-commerce brands, even if we can't naturally help them right now. I believe that we might be able to help them in the future, or I just may be able to help people get a little bit of inspiration that keeps them going.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, AJ, for a great conversation together. So if you're listening to this episode of Click to Buy and you have something to say about it, leave us a review, subscribe. I wouldn't be a good marketer if I didn't say to do that. Of course, you can find us on any channel where podcasts are found. And until next time, this has been another episode of Click to Buy. I'm your host, Becca Anderson, and keep turning those clicks into buys.